Welcome to Buckeyes Tomorrow Morning for Tuesday, September 20th. I'm your host, Tom Orr. The Wisconsin game is in 4 days, the game against Michigan in 67 days. We're going to be talking a little recruiting today, including some of Ohio State's top commits for the 2023 class, as well as some really top-notch prospects in the next few classes. Buckeye Huddle's Marc Givler just spent a couple days down in Florida watching some really high-level football. Marc, you saw a couple games, but man, that one on Friday, that looked like one of the more talent-laden games that you could possibly imagine.
Yeah, there were potentially, when we look back on it, there were potentially 4 5-star receivers in that game. Plus you have, plus Mark.
Is that a lot? I don't watch a lot of high school football. It sounds like a lot.
There might have been more 5-star receivers on that field than there were on the Ohio State Toledo field the next night. So just incredible talent, and then obviously great players. Lots of big time DBs. Some young guys that kind of emerged. So it was that's for a non-IMG Academy type of game for two Florida schools that aren't just picking from everywhere across the country. That's as good as it gets. So
you mentioned the high level defensive backs. You mentioned the high level wide receiver play. You were also not the only person to make a trip down south from Columbus for that game on Friday. And why don't you let people know who else was there from Columbus? And I think they might go, I bet I know why they were down there.
Yeah, Ohio State sent 2 assistants down, Brian Hartline, Perry Eliano, both down there watching the game. I think they got there like mid-first quarter, and then they stayed the entire game, and that's kind of unusual. So a lot of these coaches take off at halftime and beat traffic and everything else and get back on their flights, but they were really into it, actually. I was obviously doing my own thing as well, trying to get video and everything, but they weren't just kind of out back on the track, just yucking it up with people. They were like, last couple minutes of that game, they're like up almost on the field, right up to the sideline, and they were really into it. I think they were having a great time. Someone like Brian Hartline, who played in Stark County, where they love high school football. I'm sure some nostalgia there for him, but. It was a great scene, and obviously there was a lot for those two guys to watch.
All right, we can get a little bit of a deeper dive on some of the names that you're about to. I'm going to make you run through in a second. We'll get to a deeper dive on them, but can you just kind of? I don't think you've actually mentioned which teams were playing, and just kind of give us just a list of the guys, and then we'll take a deeper dive on some of them. Some of the names that people will probably recognize that were playing in that one game.
Yeah, I'm going to miss probably a couple I should mention, but it was American Heritage versus Chaminade-Madonna, so a Fort Lauderdale, Hollywood, Florida area, two of the best programs in the state. So you have Brandon Innes, Mark Fletcher, Ohio State wide receiver, running back commits respectively for American Heritage. You have Jeremiah Smith Jr., JJ, and JoJo Trader, 2 5-star receivers in the 2024 class for Chaminade-Madonna, 2 guys Ohio State's offered, and they're heavily recruiting. You have defensive backs that we're going to talk about. There was a young guy at Heritage, a receiver named Malachi Tony, who was a freshman. He had 2 touchdowns in the game. He's going to be a guy we're going to be talking about a lot, I think, the next couple of years. So it was a very, very strong list of talent in that game, and two of the best programs in the country.
And we will get to some of the bigger names from that list that you just gave us in a minute, but you came away very impressed. I read your Skull Session column on the Huddle board and at BuckeyeHuddle.com. Had a ton of great information in there. One of the things in there was you came away very impressed with a cornerback who does not have an Ohio State offer as of right now. As of right this second, he does not have an Ohio State offer, but maybe that game may have changed where that could be headed.
Yeah, so I get down there and I'm watching the game, and Damari Brown for American Heritage. He's a senior. He's ranked a 4-star prospect, so he's not like a no-name. He's not a nobody. He's got a lot of big offers. Miami is probably his leader right now. Miami, his dad played there, but he's also got Alabama and Clemson. He's got some really big offers. I think he's ranked roughly in the 250s, 260s nationally. I think he's a lot better than that after watching him. He's 6'1", he's 180 pounds, he's physical, he's very competitive, athletic, long, and he did a great job on J.J. Smith, who, for my money, is the best receiver prospect in the country. regardless of class. And he did a great job on Jeremiah in the game. Laid some big hits and run support and came up on a screen and kind of wiped out Kyle Washington on a screen and got a penalty for it. What was it a penalty? I don't know, but we certainly loved seeing the physicality there. So big time player. I was able to chat a few people up about it. The word down there is that if Ohio State wanted to get involved, he'd be very receptive. And I know right now the talk is about Damon Fagan and about Perry Eliano being down there to watch Damon Fagan, but I think they were watching, certainly by the end of the first or second quarter, I think they were watching Damari Brown just as much, if not more so. And so that's a new name, I think. I don't think he's a guy who's really been thrown out there a lot for Ohio State's purposes. That's a name I think people need to start paying attention to a little bit. I think he surprised some people. I think he surprised some people from Ohio State on Friday night, and I think that could maybe gain some traction. It would not shock me if we start to talk about him a little bit down the stretch. Would they take another safety? Yeah, I think they could take another safety, but this is a kid who is physical and big enough to transition to safety. If you have too many corners, you just move him to safety and get that extra cover guy out there. So. Obviously they're going to keep recruiting Caleb Downs, but this is a guy who would make a lot of sense, and I'll be interested to see if anything comes of it. Like I said, I think he opened some eyes on Friday.
You've talked about a bunch of the different very elite wide receivers that were playing in that game, and the fact that it was not a coincidence that Brian Hartline was down there to watch all of them. So I'm going to make you just pick one, maybe two of those guys you can give us an update on, and then people can find, all your stuff on the other guys in your Skull Session column on the Huddle board at BuckeyeHuddle.com. So just give us updates on one or two of those guys.
Yeah, so I think obviously the elephant in the room is J.J. Smith, Jeremiah Smith Jr., 5-star receiver, number one receiver in the class of 2024. Ohio State is in great position there. They continue to be the team to beat. I was able to talk to him quite a bit after the game. He said, look, they know I love Ohio State. The coaches at Ohio State know I love them. They know they know Ohio State's a top school for me. I think right now it's simply, look, they're trying to repeat as state champions. I think his family would like him to see a few places. He's been to Ohio State 4 or 5 times already, so he's already been to Ohio State a bunch. And he is so young, and every school in the country wants him, and it feels like for the Smith camp, it's just maybe a little too early to make a commitment. But I think it's coming at some point. I don't think it's going to be like next year. I think it's going to I think we're 3 to 5 months out. I don't think we're talking about this time next year. I think it's going to be probably over with before his senior season next year. But they are going to take some more visits. There's a few schools he's going to be checking out in the next few weeks, and I think it's more of a let me just make sure while I have all this time. And he's really not your typical South Florida kid. He's from South Florida, so he's not like a transplant or anything like that. But he's just not. He's not a game player. He's not into the whole politics of all of this. I think he wants to be sure when he commits somewhere that he's not going to do the commit and then take 10 other visits thing. And so I just think everyone involved is trying to let's just take a couple months, see a few more places, go to a few good games, while you have the opportunity to do so, and then when it's time, then we're done. And I think that's what's happening here. And so I think they're going to land him, and I think they're going to land him, again, probably sometime between the end of the season and maybe Memorial Day. Well,
whether he's taking the make sure you've got the final decision and then there's no more drama route with his recruitment. Not everyone has taken that path. There has been some drama with the Buckeyes 2023 class, including a few decommitments, rumors swirling about a few other guys. You just spent time around Mark Fletcher and his high school program and coaches and just talking to a bunch of people around him who maybe have a sense for where things stand. Because he's one of those guys you keep just hearing rumors about. I don't know how solid anything is, but it's just kind of a name that keeps getting floated that, Miami's still chasing this guy. So what did you hear about Mark Fletcher and how solid his commitment is right now?
Everyone I talk to is saying he's very solid. The Miami stuff, some of the other stuff, it's not going to go away. And I just think, part of that is just people aren't going to let it go away. I don't know that it's anything really that Mark's been doing. I just think people assume things, and just he is a South Florida kid, and Miami's coming after him, and the NIL stuff is out there and everything else, but there's really been no indication that he's wavering. Certainly Ohio State, if you look at what they're doing, I think they were initially hell-bent on taking 2 running backs in this class. They're now kind of walking that back, and maybe it's only going to be one. And certainly they would like that to be Mark Fletcher. And if they were starting from a position of we probably need to take 2, to now walking that back to it's just going to be Mark Fletcher. If they thought Fletcher was wavering, it would be negligent if they didn't have like 10 other running backs visiting right now. And they're not doing that. So I think everyone's pretty comfortable with where that is. As comfortable as you can be given the circumstances, but I don't think anyone's really Twitter might be worried about it, but whatever that means, but I don't think anyone actually directly involved in this is all that concerned right now.
Yeah, this is sort of the flip side of the recruits who talk about wanting how this is a dream school and they never actually visit, and it's watch what they do and not what they say. This is kind of the flip side of the program. If the program is acting like they're not concerned, well, it's probably more telling than just floating a quote out there or something. So if they are not concerned, maybe they're really not concerned, and there's nothing for Ohio State fans to be concerned about either. You'll just have to find something else to worry about, I guess. I don't know. That was your Friday night, seeing all those guys play. The night before that, though, you watched another of Ohio State's top remaining targets for 2023, defensive end Damon Wilson. So what did you think of him after getting to watch him in person?
He's one of those guys that just immediately, even just going through drills before the game, you just, wow. Like, he just, I get there, and, one of the first things I do usually is track down a roster and, just make sure I got my bases covered. And I always go through and I check, do they have any freshmen playing or a sophomore playing? Maybe should be watching that guy or whatever. And, before I was able to even do that, I'm watching warm-ups, and so I don't know Damon. I could have found out very easily, but I hadn't really bothered to figure out Damon Wilson's number yet. And I look out there, and I look at I look at Venice's team going through drills, and it was like, oh yeah, that's Damon. There's not another. There's not going to be a second guy that looks like number 11 out there. So that 11 is Damon. But then you watch him, and he's so explosive. He's so fast off the snap. He's so twitchy. It's just ridiculous. Now, he is not like a Sawyer or a Tuamaloau or even like a guy like they're recruiting right now, Keon Keeley, like a 6'5.5", 6'6", like just giant-bodied defensive end. He is much more. I'm going to use a name that's probably going to make people cringe a little bit, but not because of his on-the-field play, just kind of some issues he had at Ohio State. But he is very much like Noah Spence in the way he is built and his explosiveness. And obviously you hope, nothing happens there off the field with Noah had some issues, but was still a heck of a player in college. But that's the type of skill set he has, and it's very different, I think, than what Ohio State has right now at defensive end. A lot of these big-bodied guys, Damon is effective against the run. He works hard at it. He's pretty strong, especially for his size. But he's a guy that you line him out as wide as you can get away with, and you say, go get the quarterback. That's all. That is his lane. And they don't have a ton of guys like that. And Jim Knowles is obviously trying to instill this new defensive front with the jack and the stand-up and moving guys around. And my goodness, does this guy fit this? And that's what they're really selling him on. Is like, look, we kind of built our defense, for bigger body defensive ends. Now we're looking for guys like you. We don't have any. So when you get here, like, hey, it's wide open. Do your thing, and you might be able to get on the field early. And so I think that's I think that's really effective right now for them with recruiting Damon. But yeah, he is just a pure like freaking terror off the edge. That's all he is, and that's their. I mean, that's like Noah Spence, Dwight Freeney, not big guys, 6'3" at best, 235, not 255, 265, but he's an absolute blur off the edge.
Yeah, as you're describing, where he sort of fits in the defense, like sometimes sometimes, you wonder, is he a strong side edge? Is he a weak side end? Is it, or, the swing guys between strong side end and like a 3-tech or something like that. As you just started talking about him, it was just like, I know what Jim Knowles wants to do with him. I bet I can tell you. I have seen Jim Knowles do this with some other guys. I sure bet I know where he fits there. It sounds like he's receptive to that, which would be good news for Ohio State. And you mentioned Keon Keeley. Keon Keeley is visiting this weekend for the Wisconsin game. So I will. We also have Mateo Uyunglele. They're 3 really top level edge rushers. I'm going to kind of give us a little update here. We've kind of had a little bit of a horse race thing that we're sort of tracking on. Are they going to get 2? Are they going to get 1 of those guys? Are they going to get all 3 of those guys? After talking to Wilson and folks around Wilson, after now knowing that Keon Keeley's coming back to Ohio State this weekend for the Wisconsin game, where are you standing in terms of those 3 guys? How many of them do you think they potentially get for this 2023 class?
Yeah, I still like them to get at least 2. I think I don't want to say it's being super conservative, but I think it is being a little conservative. I mean, they've got a shot at all 3 of them. But I think they're going to get at least 2. I still feel really good about Mateo. That's not going to end soon, as I've kind of said over and over again. That's check back in December. that's probably the earliest that one's going to end. But they're continuing to be in very good shape there. I continue to like where they're at with Damon Wilson. I was not super bullish on their chances a couple months ago. I've gradually got to the point now where I think they are the team to beat for Damon Wilson. I think a commitment sooner than later would be beneficial for Ohio State. He told me in the next couple weeks, maybe a month the most. That's pretty good timeline for Ohio State. And talking to him on Thursday night and just talking to some other people, it sounds like he was very close to maybe popping after his visit for the Notre Dame game and just kind of wanted to take a deep breath and slow down a little bit. But he hasn't really done much since then, so it's not like he's going and visiting 5 other schools. I just think he wants to kind of process things a little more, but I think they're in very good shape there, so I've got them kind of trending up for Damon Wilson. Keeley was the guy, coming in, maybe on by Saturday, Sunday-ish. I was like, he's probably the 3rd most likely of the group. But now he's coming back for Wisconsin, and so him and Wilson are kind of on the seesaw for me, or 2 and 2A as far as most likely to be in the class. It's a great sign. I still. My holdup there is still, look, he still has this Alabama visit scheduled for October. He's got an official visit to Alabama in October. So, if that visit, if they can't push him off of that this weekend when he comes back for the Wisconsin game, then that's still going to be a huge hurdle. And it's certainly one they can overcome, but obviously you would feel a lot better if he comes out of this weekend and says, maybe I'm not going to do the Alabama visit. So, we'll see where that goes. I just think that's, of all the 3 left, I think who's got a big hurdle in front of them. I think they're the big one is Keeley's Alabama visit, and then I also think a little bit, not that USC's defense is playing well, but USC's got some juice right now with Lincoln Riley. They're looking really good offensively. They're looking like a top 5 or 6 team maybe this year, and that depth chart's going to be appealing, and the LA market and the NIL stuff is going to be appealing with Mateo. So there's a few hurdles with a couple of these guys, but look, Ohio State's in great shape with all 3, and we'll see what happens. Larry Johnson's a pretty good closer.
Yeah, Larry Johnson's a pretty good closer. Maybe they can have him talk to JT Tuimoloau when he's up in Columbus this weekend. And, you don't want to make an Alabama visit. I didn't make an Alabama visit, and look where I am now. That's, I'm just saying, maybe worth a shot. We'll see. Yes, if you can eliminate Nick Saban, that is generally a good thing. If you were going up against pretty much anyone, if you can get Nick Saban and Alabama off the table, that will definitely swing the odds a little bit in your favor. So we'll keep an eye on that one. We will be keeping an eye on all the recruits in town this weekend for what should be a very big and exciting recruiting weekend. Primetime kickoff, blackout in the Horseshoe, Wisconsin in town. Should be a lot of fun. We will be there covering it all from pregame to postgame. The game itself, of course. Tony Gerdeman, Kevin Noon, and I all in the stadium. Mark, Alex Gleitman, Ross Fulton, Justin Whitlatch, Devin Radcliffe, all of our X's and O's guys, all of our recruiting guys. We are going to be real busy this weekend with what should be a really fun week of Ohio State football. So make sure you check out BuckeyeHuddle.com. We are it has been a very exciting couple weeks there, and the community is really growing, and it's been a very active and fun community. Got a lot of fun contests on the board and all sorts of fun stuff. So make sure you are a part of that, all at BuckeyeHuddle.com. That'll do it for today. Thank you guys all for joining us. Have a great day. We'll talk to you tomorrow.